And welcome back to the Savage Patriots with your host, Bro, and the Asian Persuasion, Jay Lee. As you guys can all see, Marlon's not going to be here today because he's still feeling a little tired.
Yeah.
Make the show. But it's going to be a very interesting topic that we have this evening because it's going to continue on from what we talked about Wednesday about radical Islam and how 9/11 was more than just an inside job. It also was trying to usher in the acceptance of Islam in our belief. What do you think?
No. I think that's a valid point to try and explore, and I think we're going to take, starting today, as the precursor of that exploration of how 9/11 wasn't just a terrorist attack, although it was a terrorist attack. I think 9/11 was the Trojan horse to be able to usher in the turning America into an Islamic caliphate.
Yes. And it's more than just that. There was so many other things tied into 9/11 to get us to a certain state or way of living in this country. But we're going to talk about mainly the Islamic side of it and how we believe, or at least I can speak for myself. I believe that first you make them the, what's the word I'm looking for?
First, you paint him the bad guy.
Yeah, you paint him as the bad guy first. Paint him as the bad guy. Obviously, human nature, they're going to attack the bad guy.
Yeah.
Call them out. They're going to be watched on planes. They're going to be targeted. They're going to be racially profiled. And then over time, you have to start painting them as the victim.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, we see that, though. We saw that. It only took, what was it? That was 2001. 2026. It took, 25 years to go from, okay, we see this faith system, and as we talked about last time we met, this faith system's primary motivation is to conquer, conquer and subjugate. And based on what we investigated Wednesday, their entire worldview is built on subjugation of those they want to conquer. And so America stands for everything that Islam is not. America stands for individual freedom, the pursuit of your life, and making sure that you are living your life to the most fullest it can. You have the option to believe what you want to believe or to believe what you not want to believe. But when it comes to Islam, such freedoms do not exist because you are supposed to submit to Allah, which is what Islam means, is submission. But Westerners really don't like the idea of submission, especially coercion, and that's what Islam is really about. And so when it comes to this thing called Islam, I was going somewhere with this. They don't like what we stand for, purely on the basis of life, liberty, and our pursuit of our own happiness. And I think that's the reason why Islam wants to desperately turn America from the United States of America to the United Caliphate of America.
Yeah, I agree. And before 9/11, I mean, we kind of understood what radical Islam was about. And we understood that there was terrorist networks operating within the world. But it seemed like right after 9/11, everything Islam was thrown in our face for years. Radical Islam. It's not all Islam. They're not all radicals, the Muslim faith. And you started seeing more of it get thrown in the American people's face. And then what ends up happening to people when they hear about something long enough, they start looking at it to themselves.
Yeah.
So they start reading into this religion, some, not all. And then they start reading it and they're like, oh, this isn't as bad. That's just those people don't represent all of Islam. And this is what we're taught. Those people that did that don't represent all Muslims, but all Muslims represent what those people did. They stand for that. A lot of them aren't going to act in it, but if they have to, they will. So people start accepting it more. And then the minute you started calling them out, now they call you out. That's where the term Islamophobe came around. Because before 9/11, I never heard the term Islamophobia. Right after 9/11, that's when you started hearing that term being thrown.
Well, I never I mean, to build on your point, I never even recognized that you could take one word and stick another word to it to create an entirely different word. I thought, if you had a phobia, that psychologically means you have an irrational fear of something.
Mhm.
But then when people decided that words don't matter, and then all of a sudden they decide to say homophobia, then Islamophobia, and then transphobia. I don't know. I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah, and it was just a way to shut down dialogue.
That
The
part.
minute, and it continues on today, the minute you say anything negative about a religion, you're not talking about all of them. You're talking about the way certain people practice that faith. You're automatically deemed some type of phobe.
Exactly.
So it's a way for people, as stated in our thumbnail, 9/11 was an inside job, as we know, but it was also a way to introduce Islam to the mainstream, because Islam's always been there.
Yeah.
But, it's kind of in the shadows because of our nation and our nation's values, and mainly was Christian values that we spoke about in this country.
Right.
So what they did, they threw Islam in our face, and they kind of started shaming Christianity. The minute Islam 9/11 happened, they started pushing Islam, Islamophobia, and they started pushing Christians down.
Mm-hmm.
Your Christian values when you talk about homosexuality, your Christian values when you talk
Right.
about abortion. Oh, your Christian values. They just started shaming Christ, shaming God, shaming anything a Christian stood for, but also raising Islam at the same time. And we've always said on the show, the way they speak about Christians, how come they never have that same energy towards Muslims?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I don't know of any Christians that talked about going to in the name of God to go up and terrorize people for no reason, just because your faith told you to.
Mm-mm. No, the worst thing you could probably do is rhetorically push, the Christian gospel, but you'd never subjugate them for that. That's never even been a theological concept, let alone a practical concept. So it makes no sense.
Yeah, and it's all part of the so-called conspiracy theory of the New World Order. Because in order to have a world order, you have to have a religion that really keeps people in check by any way, shape, or form. Really gets them in check. Christianity really doesn't do that, because we believe in that's between you, God, our creator, Yahweh. That's between you and our creator. Islam doesn't believe that. Islam believes they're the justice. So if we can get a whole country to buy into this Islamic faith and it be forced on us, the people that don't believe get taken out. The people that do believe will be under their control. Now that we have under control under a religion, theology, government can do pretty much what they want, because all the government has to do is to adopt that same principle,
right?
And you have total control.
Yeah, and like we said, that 9/11 being an inside job from the government, yes, and the tragedy that 3,000 Americans died at the hands of George W. Bush, but also at the same time, I'm convinced that 9/11 was also the Trojan horse to introduce Islam, and the fact that after 9/11, 25 years ago, it almost seems like an entire generation. It only took an entire generation to forget that it was Islam that said death to America. It was Islam that would promote the idea of Sharia law being instituted everywhere, and the fact that they went from villain to curious to curious idea to now all of a sudden victim, because so many people didn't like how they were treated 25 years ago, and it took just one generation to go from villain to victim, and then because of our day and age, we want to prop up the victim, because victims, they can't help themselves. They need help. They oh, look, these poor minorities, they're all brown, they got turbans, and Allahu Akbar is it just means praise God to some of these woke white liberals and these woke blacktivists. So like bro said on Wednesday, because of toxic empathy, that's why we are propping up victims, when we should recall that these were the villains, because they were propelled by their own by their own really, 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 really detrimental worldview, which is Islam.
Mm-hmm. By any means necessary, too. You know, in order to meet their end goal, they will do anything to get that. They talk about infiltrating the West.
Yeah.
And we've talked about the only way they can infiltrate the West is first through government, through local governments, through, federal governments. They have to infiltrate those first.
Yes.
Because they're not just going to come in and stand in the street and force people to believe something. Mm-hmm. It has to envelop, within our operating systems within our country. Then they can slowly start pushing little things in there, little bit at a time, to where people will have no choice at some point but to accept it if they want to continue to thrive and live. And this is a generational thing. This isn't going to happen with guys like Jay, myself, and many others, and Marlon. It's not going to happen with us because we refuse. This is generational training, generational brainwashing.
Yeah.
And as Jay stated, you look at what happened from 9/11, 25 years later, how much of the brainwashing, how fast it happened.
Let me ask you a question. I just thought of this. Because we're both on the same page that Islam is the Trojan horse. How much money did George Bush gain from his efforts with 9/11?
Oof. I don't know. That's a good question. Let's look it up.
And where did that money come from?
Let's see. Let's see if he tells us the truth. I'm using Copilot. So there's no credible evidence that George W. This person made money galore. His wealth estimated around $50 million comes from oil ventures, the Texas Rangers, blah, 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 blah. So there's no credible evidence, of course, but many companies, Halliburton, KBR, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, etc., profited heavily into GY. Bush did not have ownership stakes.
But those were donors and affiliates with what's the word I'm looking for? A company that gives you money.
Lobbyists?
Yes.
Yep.
Those are his lobbyists. And so I'm just thinking, how much of his oil subsidy payouts were rooted in Middle East oil?
I don't know, but all it says here is George W. Bush net worth is $50 million, comes from oil ventures, doesn't say where, Texas Ranger sale, book deals, speaking engagements, standard post-presidential income streams.
Right.
But it said none of these are tied to the global war on terror. But when it says oil ventures, it's not saying exactly, it doesn't really specify, is it only Texas or does it venture out?
Right.
Because they had their hands in the Middle East. They're oil guys. Their whole family has been.
So my question is, in order to get in bed with the United States, how much of the Islamic Caliphate in the Middle East between Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Saudi Arabia, how much of that was what propelled George Bush to pass the Patriot Act?
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, the Patriot Act basically circumcised the entire privacy of the American public, and then because everything is monitored, the government is then allowed to utilize coercion to stop speech, such as speaking out against Muhammad, speaking out against Islam, because Bush was paid by these oil magnates in the Middle East.
So, here's one: top corporate beneficiaries. Number 4 is Northrop Grumman.
Mm-hmm.
Produced drones, surveillance systems, and cyber intelligence tools. So that can be one.
Mm-hmm.
But the rest are ExxonMobil and other oil majors. Let's see. Why these companies profited? Massive Pentagon budgets, outsourcing, logistic reconstruction, long-term weapons program, high consumption, multi-million dollars equipment, requiring replenishment, intelligence, and surveillance expansion. So that intelligence and surveillance expansion from Northrop Grumman could, be where the Patriot Act, some of the stuff that the Patriot Act was,
right,
coming through.
I'm just wondering, because of the Patriot Act, it completely dissolved the right of privacy for Americans, and I'm wondering, because of the dissolving of the right of privacy on the basis of national security, quote unquote. What if you as a citizen posted something problematic, such as speaking out against Islam and speaking out against Muhammad, and that's part of how the Patriot Act was supposed to function, is to keep tabs on problematic speech, because I don't know, that's just how my brain just clicked.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, because they're kind of doing it with another group of people right now. And there's been videos of people, FBI showing up their house, they're being surveillance done on them for speaking out against a certain group of people.
Right.
So I can see them. Has that happened though? Have they approached anyone for speaking out against Muhammad?
Not yet, but the fact that being an Islamophobe was such a prevalent thing back in 2010, back in the 2010s, back in even mid into 2020, being Islamophobic was a taboo thing.
Yeah.
So, and nobody dissolved the Patriot Act. That has never been taken out, and the fact that it only continues to build. And didn't it change names? In fact, didn't they update it?
Yeah, I forget the new name of it, but I remember it changing.
Right, but it's still held to the same precedent of because of national security, we've given up our right to privacy because of it. So if the government is watching what we say, and it's going to affect their pocketbook by people speaking out against Islam, we're in bed with in some way, shape, or form. Is it possible that the Patriot Act is the horse that Islam is going to arrive in? Because it's already here in that regard. Then,
yeah, possibly. Can you imagine a bunch of Muslims or Islamic, people that practice that religion, in control of something like that, like in physical control of monitoring U.S. citizens?
I mean, you already have Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. If you were to have a staunch male Muslim who's vocal about as vocal as Mamdani is, and he's part of the Security Council, or the what is it, that's the Security Council out of Congress, right? Yeah, he's part of the Security Council, and that too.
Yeah,
and I mean, I shudder to think that, because then that becomes an infringement of the First Amendment if we can't speak out against a Muslim politician, and the Patriot Act is the one that causes the government, the FBI, and the DOJ to monitor such individuals. I don't know.
A bit. What's their goal? Their goal is to get the whole country to convert,
or at least be the ruling class that subjugates everybody else,
the ones that don't convert, or get rid of the people that don't.
Correct.
Because that's how it always ends up. They'll come in and they'll be like, "Oh, we all love you. Look at us. We're a loving religion." And then they'll slowly start to infiltrate the schools and the workplace and the stores and the restaurants with their halal, whatever stuff they do.
Right.
And then they'll start seeing how people adapt to it. Oh, this is good. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, hey, how about this? If you do this, there's incentives for doing this. And they slowly start giving incentives for following their faith, because they know trying to force it's never going to work in this country. It's never, ever going to work. So they try to give incentives to do something. And then there's going to be people, of course, that are going to be like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll wear a hijab and I'll follow Islamic law. It's healthy and it's safe for me. But then
It's
you're still going
beautiful.
to have it's beautiful religion, even though I got hit in the face with a stone for not doing whatever. And then the people that don't, that what they would start off doing is making their lives a living hell.
Taxation.
Yep,
First.
with the Patriot Act. And they'll be like, oh, this person doesn't want to convert. Okay, we'll just lock their bank accounts. We'll just make them a living hell. We'll do this. We'll do that.
Yeah.
And try to force you still. And when the people still are freaking defiant, that's when they'll find any reason to use it in the Patriot Act, monitoring your phones, monitoring your social media. Oh, you spoke out about this.
Mm-hmm.
This is now a fine because it's deemed hate speech. Kind of like what they're doing in, the UK.
Yeah. Totally.
Can
If you
send-
want,
Oh,
to
you
your
sent
point,
it.
yeah, to your point, I sent this in the chat, and this guy named Sam Shamoon, he actually breaks down the stages of Islamic expansion, and I think you were right on the money when you said that. And that's what caused me to bring it up.
All
So if
right.
you wanna
Yeah, I like
pull
this
that.
guy.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Where's it at?
It's
Dang
up.
it. Yeah, I know, but where is the thumbnail at? All right, here we go.
The stage of Islamic expansion in 3. Some will do 4. So when Muhammad claimed to be a prophet in 610 AD in Mecca, he was outnumbered by the disbelievers. They're the ones who had the power, they had the money, they had the control. During that stage, the message of Islam was one of more, let's preach and see who's right, but if you disagree, to your religion, to my religion. That's stage 1. So when he said it's not real Islam, well, they're in the same circumstances Muhammad was when he was outnumbered. So this is Islam in stage 1. Now he becomes the head of state. Now stage 2. Fight those who fight you and oppress you. Self-defense stage. Fast forward 2 years before he dies, he conquers the entire Arabian Peninsula. All of Arabia is under his control. Now he has a huge military base. He now controls the economics. Now is stage 3. Expand Islam militarily, politically. So when you say it's not real Islam, no, it is real Islam because of the stage in which Muslims are. Now, if you want to see this paradigm played out, look at the different areas of the world, see if the Muslims are the majority or not. If they are, it'll be stage 3. Stage 3, they're in control.
Yeah.
They're the ones who can tell you what you do and you cannot do. If they have a large number, stage 2. Islamophobia, you're robbing us of our rights and you're not letting our women put on the veil and we have a right to now attack. When they're minority, stage 1. So look around the demographics and see which country will you find Muslims implementing which stage. So in America, what stage would they be implementing?
One-ish.
One-ish, right? Getting to 2, right?
Yeah.
What about certain pockets in England?
Oh, it's like 2 right now.
2.
3.
Yeah.
What about Muslim majority country?
It's
Stage 3.
Yeah.
See how it works?
Yeah.
So it's
Wow,
not that it's
interesting.
not real Islam. It is real Islam depending on your context.
Wow.
Each one of these stages reflect the stage in Muhammad's development. Break down the stages of Islamic expansion.
So there you have it, and I think because America's system is so ingrained with the idea of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, they needed a way in. And I really think that 9/11 was the Trojan horse, and the Patriot Act was that horse.
Yeah, and it's, some other horses are, with all the conflicts in the Middle East, we're taking in all these, asylum seekers,
Yeah.
These refugees, and we're just flooding our country with them. This is a theory. These wars in these Middle Eastern countries are started for many, many reasons. We only look through a pinhole. We only say oil and money. That's what we look through.
Right.
Look through a pinhole. But there's many other branches off that hole. And one of those branches could be, since they want to make America such an Islamic country and other Western countries, We have to start wars over there to find a reason to bring asylum seekers to our country,
Mhm.
because over generations they're going to outbreed the
That part.
citizens there.
Yeah.
And you see it in the UK. It's happening. You see it in France. You see it in the UK. Some other countries, Philippines,
Germany.
Germany. They're trying to do it in France. They're not playing that crap no more. I
Right.
think Germany's starting to clean it up.
Mhm.
Did I say Italy? Italy's cleaning it up. Japan is like, heck no,
Right.
get up out of here.
Korea's starting.
Korea's starting. So a lot of these countries understand what's happening, and we're just two normal dudes using our minds. Critical thinking is easy to see for some, but I believe that's part of their plan. Start a war, get the resources, blame it on something, whatever they want to blame it on,
Right.
and then we'll start bringing these disenfranchised citizens from those countries, political
Yeah.
refugees over here, and then we'll start building up, and we'll place them in certain communities
Mhm.
around the country, and then they'll just slowly start expanding.
Like
Again,
Minneapolis.
yeah, this is a generational
Dearborn.
thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen in some of our lifetime. You got to talk generations. These people think long term.
Yep.
They just keep breeding, more kids, breeding, moving,
Mm-hmm.
and over time we'll be outnumbered. Natural born citizens will be outnumbered.
Yeah.
This is why they push abortion so hard in America.
Mm-hmm.
Why Planned Parenthood is all over the place, because they want us to be less. They want these other people to outbreed us, and we
Right.
follow suit. We promote it, but people don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's my body, my choice. Okay, 10 generations from now, when your freaking great granddaughter is wearing a hijab,
That part.
you would have thought differently.
No, exactly. It's just weird how we in the West have got it backwards. And to the credit of the Muslims, I mean, they understand family ties and in group community, because we don't. Like, we're also isolated, and we've got that individualistic mentality that it's just me, myself, and I, and nobody else matters, kind of thing. But then at the same time, it's like we are causing our own disappearance, culturally speaking, and it's to the point where I think the American way of thinking, in terms of the Constitution being the Constitution, I think America will be a Muslim nation in 3 generations by birth rate alone.
Yes, I believe so. And it's more than just abortion, man, just outbirthing us, just the division in our country. We're so divided. Even if, say, they sent a million freaking Islamics over here to fight us, our country is so divided that most of them would pick the side of them, because they hate this country so much.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors in our country. We're not breeding. We hate each other. A lot of us hate each other. We fight over the most idiotic things in our country. We fight over the dumbest things, like a sports team.
Mhm.
We can't get along for anything because we can't even find any common ground on the smallest things. So
Right.
there's something big like this, we're never going to find a common ground, because, as Jay stated earlier, there's a victim mentality that runs rampant in this country.
Mhm.
A lot of these people are always going to go with the ones they perceive to be the victim, no matter how much harm they do to people, no matter what they do to the rest of the world when it comes to death, destruction, just all types of stuff.
Right.
In their eyes, if America is going after them, they are the victims. So they're always going to back them to their own demise.
Right. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, because so if Muslims are a lot more pro-life and pro having babies than we are, yet here in this country, we promote homosexuality, which means you can't really have kids. We promote transgenderism, where you chemically castrate children.
Mhm.
Then obviously you got the abortion industry, where you completely murder your kids. So right now we are quite literally cutting off our own capacity to stand for the next 100 years because of this.
And go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and until conservatives, Republicans, and even moderate Democrats wise up and recognize that our future is at stake here, just by birth rate alone, we will fall and become the United Caliphate of America.
Yeah, and Jay and I aren't sitting up here saying go out and have 100 babies.
No,
We're not saying that we're go out there and be a baby making machine, sit at home barefoot and pregnant. We're not saying that.
No.
What we're saying is that we're being outbred. You know, you have a lot of people that are pushing, you know, abortions and, you know, not safe sex. So, you know, you go out and have an abortion. No, start pushing safe sex. Then when it's time to have kids and start a family and do all that stuff, you get out there and do it.
Right.
But at the rate we're going now, we're going to be pushed out. And it's happening fast. Look at Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look how fast these Somalis came in. Just boom, over the last, I forget how many years, maybe a little over a decade.
A little over a decade.
More. Yeah. They come in, little over a decade, and they outnumber the people that were born there. They outnumber them that fast. That's how they breed.
Yeah.
So if you're a little town and you start seeing them pop up and you're looking around and then there's another one and you're there, another one and another one, and they're just popping in, just know that's their goal. Their goal is to push out the natural born citizens, create their own communities, and start expanding out. It's all about expansion. No different than Ottoman wars. They did the same thing through all their freaking caliphates.
Yep.
They did the same thing. They start out small, they expand. They conquer, they expand. They conquer, they expand. But their conquering is going to be done through breeding and brainwashing. That's how they conquer.
Yep. And that's where and I think you and I are on the same page on that. And I think that's why 9/11 played such a huge game in making sure that happened. It opened the door to soften the hearts of I'd like to give the benefit of the doubt for the woke crowd a little bit, just a little bit, not too much, that they want what's best for individuals and people, but they're doing it at their own expense. And when you try and, you know, be compassionate to villains, you then all of a sudden, you know, switch gears and think that because you look like this, you're perpetually the victim. And so we need to support you and help you out because we're compassionate and we're moral people and we're good. But when you look at the worldview, it's completely the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, as Americans, we do like to see the good in people.
Yeah.
You know, and some of us aren't very judgmental people. We like to see the good in people. But, you know, you still have to look for patterns and be very observant and study what they study. And then if you have Muslims around you, you have to ask them what they truly believe in.
Yeah.
What do you believe in?
Right.
But again, they can lie to you anyway. What's that called? They can
Takeya?
Yeah, they can lie to you.
Yeah.
So any religion that preaches lie to the infidels, don't tell them your plans, and you ask them, you know, what they believe in, just know that they're probably lying to you. Because if they really came out and told you, they would be run up out those counties, out those cities, out those neighborhoods. So they're never going to say it.
Exactly.
And they wear a mask. They're going to smile and, ha, 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 look, I wash my hands, you know, and they're going to do all of that because they have to gain your trust.
That part.
But at the end of the day, you could have been their neighbor for 30 years. And if it came down to you and their faith, they're going to pick their faith every time. Yeah. That's what they believe.
Yep.
Christians don't want to see somebody get murdered, their neighbor murdered in the name of their religion. They're going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. No, we're not doing this.
Right.
These people, they'll turn a blind eye if it came down to you and their faith.
Right.
And that's the truth.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, and what we mean by Trojan horse is that, right. No, this is key. Where is it? Yeah, Marlon's right on this one. I think that because of what we've allowed to enter into the country, the Muslims were smart enough to simply use our constitutional values to be able to get into the government, to then begin, you know, retrofitting the government to suit their purposes and their ideas, and then just year after year between Obama, now you got Mamdani, then you have Ilhan Omar and Rashid Tlaib, and then, you know, they try and get allies with AOC and Ayanna Pressley and all that stuff. So they're all inside the government trying to trying to, perpetuate the mess.
Yes, and just like we stated earlier, they
Right.
have to infiltrate these government positions. They have to.
Yes.
Because it's not, they're just not going to walk in your neighborhood and say, this is the way it must be. You must listen to me. No.
Mhm.
They need their voices in government, the influential voices, in order to tell the people how things are going to be and to
Right.
accept certain things. And just like good little servants, some people are going to be like, they're right. They're the victims. That's Islamophobia. And we shouldn't be treating these people like that.
Yeah.
And that's how they do it.
Agreed.
Stand your ground. That's what I believe in. Don't accept anything you don't want to accept. If it goes against your moral compass, that you don't have to accept it. And if they shame you for not accepting it, so be it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important that America, the idea of America, because of the Constitution, it's a land of values. It's rooted in a value system of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And the fact that you have another faith system that really wants you not to be in line with that, that's what makes America such a country that people want to live in, but it also becomes a country that people want to take over. And between Obama doing what it is that he did, between the entire leftist movement here that's perpetuating some of the degeneracy that we're seeing, but then when the pendulum swings and people are tired of it, what's the one faith system that will not tolerate it? The degeneracy, it's Islam. And people will latch on to Islam because I'm sick and tired of living the degenerate life. Christianity is considered quote unquote weak. That's just from people who don't study it. So then you latch on to Islam. And Islam provides you with strength and provides you with solidarity, and that's what attracts people to Islam, is because of that. And I think that's dangerous if we're not standing on the principles of the Constitution and the values of what we believe is true based on our Judeo-Christian understanding of things.
Yeah, and one of the reasons people accept religions like this coming into this country, because they consider us living on stolen land. You hear the term colonizers. This isn't your land. Yet you want to accept people who have been colonizing countries for centuries. Colonizing, taking them over, raping, pillaging, murdering, doing everything they possibly can to get the people to bow to their will. There's a lot of countries out there that look different these days, Iran being one of them.
Yeah.
Before all of this mess, Iran looked like a normal Western civilization. Certain religion comes in, now it looks like Beirut times 10.
Yeah.
And this is what they want in our country. They don't like us thriving. They don't like our freedoms. They don't like us living the way we live. They don't like our women having a voice in the public square. They do not like that.
Right.
And they want to squash it.
Yeah.
So all you feminists out there that push this stuff, just understand, feminism doesn't exist in Islam.
Nope.
At all.
Nope.
It's the patriarchy times 100 in Islam.
It is.
Be careful what you wish for.
I mean, Wednesday we studied it, right? And it comes from their own book. The word of a woman is half that of a man. So it takes 2 women and 1 man to equal one witness. So, ladies, that's what they consider you, is half of a brain, half of a mind, because it's deficient, according to them. So, pick your battles, but stay in the business. I think that.
Yeah, but a lot of people.
Go ahead.
A lot of people won't see it until something horrible happens to them. And I think we've seen it. We've seen Western women go into the Islamic faith and marry a Muslim husband, and they end up figuring out I don't want to be married into this religion anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they learn the hard way. We've had American citizens, not citizens, they weren't born here. They're immigrants, come over to America. They're living in America, and they've tried to honor kill their own kids, or some of them have done it. Those are the things that would be allowed in our country if we allow this to happen. And they're trying to normalize it. Oh, that's Islamophobia. That's just their religion. Oh my God, you guys hate Muslims. No, this guy just killed their daughter for wearing a skirt. Why would we want that? That's not Islamophobia.
Yeah. But
they want us to accept it. And they shame you for not accepting it. take the shame. Hey, call me what you want. Yes,
Right.
Islamophobe. I'm whatever you want to call me. I'll take it.
I agree. So, I mean, at the end of the day, and we're going to lead on into this next week, but 9/11, you know, yes, our government had a hand in it, but I think our government constructed the Patriot Act that allowed Islam into the country to become normalized. And until you and I wake up, you know, and be awakened to the reality of what Islam teaches, United States of the United Caliphate of America will be in our future if we're not wise about it.
And maybe not us. We'll probably be long gone in another world somewhere. But of generations, they're going to feel it if we don't stop it now.
Right. And that comes with, agreed. That comes with
Yeah.
parents training up your kids to recognize what it is that we live on in terms of, you know, what America stands for and what America is about. And again, this takes you being involved in your kids, ladies and gentlemen. So
Yeah, and for the parents out there that whose children are looking into it, because kids are gonna, you know, let them be curious, but make sure they're reading the real things and within that religion.
Yeah.
Not the glamorized part of it, not the stuff you see on TikTok, not all the glamour and all that stuff that, you know, these kids tend to see, because that's what draws them to it. Show them the real stuff. Read the real things within that religion, as like we discussed a few days ago. Show them that and ask them, is this what you want to be a part of?
Yeah.
And see what they say.
Yeah.
Stop glamorizing, you know, and cutting out all the horrible parts. At least within Christianity, when we read the Old Testament, we do read some of the things in there that, you know, a lot of people wouldn't agree with nowadays. But we don't go out and do it.
Right.
Oh, the Old Testament said I got to freaking kill my firstborn. What?
yeah.
No. But Islam would do it. They would do that.
Yeah, they would. They
Yeah,
would.
Muhammad said to kill your firstborn on this day and this year, and they would do it.
Yeah, they would. That's how dedicated and faithful they are.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the end of the day, all I'm aware of is that 9/11 government job, sure, but the government job was the framework that built the Patriot Act, that was the Trojan horse that allowed Islam to take root. Until we weed out the root, I don't think anything's going to happen.
Yeah, and as you stated earlier, it was never meant to monitor terrorist cells within the U.S. It was used to monitor American citizens.
Yeah.
And keep track of the words that they use, whether it's Islamophobe, whether it's anti-Israel, whether it's anything like that. They keep track of that to see if you could be considered a domestic terrorist when or if the caliphate actually takes over. You're already deemed a terrorist against the caliphate.
I make that assumption.
So, and just make sure you guys go and watch. Everybody, I've said it many times, as long as this show's been on here. Since we're talking about 9/11, go watch Everything is a Rich Man's Trick. It's on YouTube. It's about 3 hours long. You can watch in its segments. Go watch it as they start breaking things down in there. And then you'll understand when Jay and I say that, and Marlon say that 9/11 was an inside job in our own opinion.
Yeah.
And it'll start making sense to you. Really watch it and then go watch. No, don't watch that one. That's not worth it. But do go watch Everything is a Rich Man's Trick, so you can get a better understanding about 9/11 and why we believe things are happening the way they're happening with Islam infiltrating our country.
Right.
It wasn't to make them the villain. It was to make them the victim. You make someone the victim, it becomes more accepted. Then more people start learning about it and wanting to convert to it.
Agreed.
But yeah, we're going to cut it short today because it is Friday and I have some things I'm going to be doing later on. Jay's probably got some things he's going to be taking care of. Marlon could possibly be back Monday. You guys saw him in the chat. He's still feeling a little bit under the weather, but he should be back Monday. And we'll continue this series about how we believe Islam's infiltrating America, and it was done on purpose.
Yep.
Anything else, Jay?
Stand on business, ladies and gentlemen. Stand on business. You're an American, so protect it. Was it Benjamin Franklin who said, "America will always be a republic if you do your diligence to protect it,"
Yeah.
or something like that?
If we want it,
If
it'd
we
always
want
be a republic. Pretty much if we want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So, Caliphate
Yeah.
Republic. What do you want?
you want Allahu Akbar or do you want God bless America? I don't know. I want God bless America. I don't
That
want
is you.
Allahu Akbar and no
Exactly.
jihad going on here.
Right.
So let's keep it
Right.
that way.
Yes.
Not just for us, but for future generations,
Exactly.
and generations and generations to come.
Yep. Agreed.
Fight to keep our country the way we like it. With some adjustments here and there every now and then, but we like our freedom, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
All right, Jake, take us out, man.
Like, share, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all Monday. Peace.
Whoa. Well,